Yo, what up, y'all? Today we're jumping into some more Diablo 4. Now with less than 2 days until the game comes out, I'm super excited about it. This is one of my favorite games. I'm going to show you guys a couple quick builds that'll kind of help you progress through the early game on characters. So we're going to be going over the Druid, the Sorcerer, and the Necromancer, which kind of are my favorite characters. I think they're going to be the strongest. Now once the game comes out, you know, we see it fully smoothened. We could definitely take a look into the Barbarian, take a look into the Rogue, you know, look at some more OP things to do. But I think these three builds will definitely help you get through the early game content, no problem. And then kind of move into getting those legendaries, unlocking those skill points, and getting more into the skill tree. So for this first build, this is going to be the Werewolf Druid build. Now, the Werewolf, honestly, I think in the early game, he's just so overpowered. We're going to be using Shred, we're going to be using the Roar, and then we're going to be using the Howl. Now with the Roar and the Howl, that'll pretty much keep you alive. You know, that'll up your defense. You'll definitely get more life every time you pop the buffs. And then on top of that, as long as you're hitting, as you can see, the life bar is going to keep on going up. So I think in the early game, you know, definitely the wolf over the bear. Now don't get me wrong, there's going to be a whole bunch of overpowered things that you can do. As you can see, the skill tree is immaculate. You know, there's a bunch of different ways that you can go. But I think even, you know, if you're playing hardcore especially, you got to go with certain OP things that are pretty much going to help you stay alive. So in that way you don't die and have to restart from the beginning. Now if you're going on standard, it's pretty much the same thing, you know, except for the fact that you don't have to start from the beginning. But I believe if you go down this tree, this is definitely going to help you get through the content a lot quicker. Start getting to that in-game content. And then of course, you know, once you get to that in-game content, once you start finding more legendaries, that's when you can start progressing out into other builds. Because pretty much how this game is going to work, the builds that you're going to do is virtually going to be based on the gear that you have. You know, so if I have gear that's buffing my Shred, if I have gear that's buffing my Howl or my Roar, I would want to equip that gear. And then of course equip the skills equivalent to that gear, which is going to help you get the best out of the gear that you have. So as you're going through the game, every time you find a new piece of armor, you know, a new helmet, a new weapon that buffs something else, it's going to be in your best interest to pretty much keep respecing, you know, based on the things that you have. So you'll probably change your build a whole bunch of times. But I think as a basis, going through that werewolf tree is definitely going to be super strong. Now going into the Necromancer, what I did with him, and let me just tell you right now, I think the Necromancer and the Flame Hydra Sorcerer are definitely the strongest early game characters that you can pick. Down in the comments, let me know, have you guys been trying out the Necromancer? I know you guys have been doing the Flame Hydra Source. You know, I'm sure once the game drops, we're going to see nothing but Flame Hydra Sources everywhere, just teleporting around. And then as you start getting further and further along, you'll definitely see, you know, more frost, more lightning. But in the early game for the Necromancer, I think the Decompose, of course, for your basic is going to be super strong. Now for your minions, I pretty much experimented with it a lot. I personally like the defenders and the mages, but you could definitely go skeletons and mages based on the armor that you have. And then I go with Blood Surge, which Blood Surge is so good because every time you get a kill, you're going to get over health. So as you can see, the life, I have a little bit more life than, you know, my main life bar there. And then you just want to use like Decrepify and Curse. And you literally could just stand in the back and do nothing. From your minions killing things, from the curses on the ground, from the Decrepify, they're going to be slowed. They're going to take more damage. And then on top of that, you really don't even have to stand that close because you could just use the Decompose from long range and kill them that way. And then on top of that, if enemies do get close or you just want to go in there and explode enemies, all you got to do is start breaking out that Blood Surge. And I think this build is so strong. Even without any legendaries or even without any specific items that are buffing the build, I still think the build is going to be super strong in the early game. Now with these builds, I think they're going to be the best probably between like level 1 and level 30, maybe level 1, level 35. Because once you start finding more legendaries, once you start finding more buffs, you know, again, you're going to be respecking your equipment over and over and over again based on what weapons you find, you know, how good of RNG you find on your gear. But I think as a basis starting out, this is what helped me in hardcore mode. I went from 1 to 20 without dying. The first time the beta came out, went from 1 to 25 on multiple characters without dying once. And it's just pretty much based on the builds that you do in the early game. And another thing too that I want to add in, with all of the characters that you play, you definitely want to have some form of healing, some form of escape, because that's going to be how you stay alive, especially if you're going to be soloing bosses. Now for the third build, we're going to go with the Flame Hydra. Everybody knows this one. Now a little bit different thing that I did with the Flame Hydra. So as you can see there, I'm actually using Blizzard. Now the reason I'm using Blizzard, so if you go down to the bottom left of the map, once you hit level 15 on the Sorcerer, you can enchant an ability. So of course we want to enchant our Flame Hydra, right? So every time you do 500 damage, it spawns a 5-headed Hydra instead of a 3-headed Hydra. So what I pretty much do is I use the Blizzard to pretty much farm that 500 damage. And I'm telling you, you will get a flame 5-headed Hydra probably once every like 30 to 45 seconds. It's definitely overpowered. Down in the comments, let me know if you guys have been doing this. Honestly, you could do it with really any ability that you want. So if you find gear that's good for Blizzard, you know, you find gear that's good for lightning, you know, fire, pretty much up to you. You can go with incinerate. I would pretty much just go with any ability that you have buffs for on your gear, and then just use your flame hydras, use your flame basic, and then use that one ability that's buffed up, and you'll get 5-headed hydra pretty much once a minute, 2 times a minute. And once you get to that point, you're actually just farming. It doesn't even matter. As you can see here, you know, all yellow items, blue item. We got 1 legendary off of killing that boss. But to be very honest with you, in the early game, between the Necromancer, Decompose, Blood Surge, and then the Flame Hydra 5-headed Source, you're literally chilling. You can probably do this build up to like level 30, level 40, and then once you actually start finding really good legendaries for it, like the serpent spear, I'm pretty sure it's called. Well, actually it might not be a spear, it might be a staff, where you can actually spawn 2 hydras, and then if you have that enchanted, one of those will be a flame-headed hydra as well. So it definitely gets super overpowered. I cannot wait for this game to come out. It is going to be so fire. And then, you know, in the beta, you can only go up to like level 20, 25. So, of course, I believe these builds are only going to be good maybe to like 1 to 30. But once you start finding more legendaries, once you start finding better gear, once you're able to respec your gear, once you're able to start adding augments, this is when it's going to start getting insane. And then, of course, once you hit about 25, you have enough skill points for your ult. So make sure you guys smack the like button on this video. Make sure you guys hit that sub button. I'm going to be dropping all kinds of Diablo videos once it drops. Go with this build. It's definitely strong for the early game. As always, I appreciate you guys stopping in and checking it out. And I'll see you on that next one. Peace.